calling to order the Woburn School Committee meeting for January 27th, 2021. Could we please all salute the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everybody. Could the superintendent, secretary to the school committee, please call the roll?
Ms. Chisholm.
Here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Mr. Lipset. Present. Mr. Kissel.
Here.
Mr. Mulrennan.
Present.
Dr. Wells.
Here.
And Ms. Crowley.
Present. All right, good evening, everyone. This is an open meeting conducted under open meeting law. Despite the fact that we are holding the meeting in a public building, the school committee is also live streaming this meeting through the Woburn Public Media Station YouTube channel. Just wanted to announce that. I also will announce that Mr. Chris Kissel will be participating in this meeting remotely. Okay, moving on with the agenda, approval of records for 1/13/21. Any
Motion
action?
to approve?
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Kissel. Voted aye. Also, I just want to make sure everyone knows that Mr. Kissel is on this computer next to me. Student representatives will be presenting remotely through Google Meets. We could all turn our attention to the screen. Dr. Crowley will be sharing Google Meets.
Sure. Tonight, Sarah Delano joins us as a student rep, and so I'll turn it over to Ms. Delano.
Hello. Nice to see you all virtually again. As of today, the morning brews that there was at Woburn High, which is a vocational program students who are in the transitional education and launch programs. Teachers and professionals supervise students in the program to ensure they can safely run a coffee cart, meeting all DPH requirements and taking orders from staff. Also, the science team did very well, with the team competing in the category of superorganisms, placing in fourth, the IC team tying for third, and the team competing in the famous chemist category, placing sixth. The team placed third overall out of 11. The DECA team competed recently as well, and they also did very well. Winners for Woburn include Samir Jamgala, Shrey Patel, Elin Brukos, Fred Pardiali, Adam Gilly, and Shuari. The team is in motion in girls and boys hockey and basketball for playing, as well as gymnastics, and all are doing well in their respective competitions. Their competitions are being live streamed by the Woburn Public Media Center for fans. Athletic directors around the state and in the Middlesex League are meeting now to organize the wedge season, which will include volleyball, indoor track, and football. Fall athletics are holding their banquets via Google Meets for the next couple of weeks. Thus far, I know that field hockey is having this Friday, and cross country will be having Tuesday. 25 teachers participated in a live streaming pilot and provided feedback on their experience, continues to inform a district level decision about this initiative. The Bullseye magazine, published by the journalism class at WMHS, put out its 4th edition for the school year. Seniors are in the middle of college applications and acceptances. Scholarship applications are still open. I know that the cross-country deadline got pushed to February, so more applications can be submitted. The guidance department is working with department leaders to put course selection for grades 8 through 11, into motion. Course selection will take place prior to April break. Stay tuned for more information from Principal Callahan on how this process will work. WMHS Department of Elementary and Secondary Education coordinate paid internships for seniors interested in going into the field of education. WMHS administration is coordinating with middle school and elementary school principals, the Boys and Girls Club, and YMCA to place interested students. And that is all for today.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the student rep? I think they're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I think so.
I wish you were here. You'd probably get more questions, but you capture what's going on vicariously. It's terrific. So thank you. Any questions at all from the committee?
Yes.
Mr. Moretti?
If I may, through the Dr. Crowley, to our student rep, if she's doing PE class at Woburn Memorial High School, how's that working out for her? I know she's probably taking PE. Family consumer science.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Sarah?
Fitness with Miss Long.
Right, he asked if I'm doing a physical
Yes.
education class.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm taking personal fitness with Miss Locke right now. So the way that the high school devised doing physical education is it used to be a semester course, but because it would have been too much of people coming in and out of the class because they used to go on even and odd days, they switched it to you have it for a term, and you would have it just for a period for a term. I'm enjoying it. We all stay masked, we stay distance, but we get to still have like a break to actually do physical like exercises rather than be sitting in the seat and experiencing lectures. So it's good.
And a follow-up to that, Dr. Crowley, any other challenging classes going on for her?
I'll just repeat it, Sarah. So the question is, are there any other, what other challenging classes are going on for you, was exactly how it was asked.
Like what courses am I taking?
Just the challenge of the whole COVID practices.
How's the challenge of the COVID era going for you?
It's all right. There's a lot of independent work that's going on just because we're home a lot, but we do have the live stream now, so it's kind of, we get like the same class time as we did before, which is pretty good. I think that it can be kind of tired to be in front of the screen for so long, so it can get kind of mentally draining, but overall I think that it's not too challenging. I think that it's able to be handled.
Sounds like the fatigue you were talking about last week, Mr. Crowley. Dr. Crowley.
I was talking about COVID fatigue at the last meeting, and so I think we're all feeling it to some extent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulrennan. Any further questions from the school committee? Not seeing any. Well, that was a tremendous
Move to
presentation as
suspend the regular
always.
order of business so we can do silver linings.
I have a motion to suspend the order of business. We can hear Part C on the agenda. Do I have any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, so we will hear from Silver Linings. I also want to acknowledge that President Locke of the Teachers Union is here in the audience, and the student rep referenced her, so I just want to acknowledge Ms. Locke. So we'll hear Silver Linings. Mr. Kissel, you're still with us, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, awesome, okay. All right, Silver Linings.
So this was an idea presented by a committee member. There's so many good things that are happening in our community, and it's an opportunity for us to not just dwell on the challenges, but the positives that are coming out, and the relationships that are being formed and being created. And I'm using the term silver linings. People could call it a bright spot. And so with us tonight is Mayor Paturo from the Joyce Middle School. She's on the Google Meet to talk a little bit about a silver lining that occurred, a partnership between the Joyce Middle School and the Woburn Senior Center. So without further ado, if you could talk a little bit about the work that you're doing and why you're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Hello, everyone at the school committee meeting. I prepared some slides to help me speak on the topic, and I will present my screen if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Not to sound like a broken record, but I say this all the time online on hybrid learning. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So for 8th grade history at the Joyce, there's a new standard to have a civics project. And so I named my project Everybody Has a Story. It's also service learning. And that's the bulletin board. We adopted a bulletin board at the senior center, and each student made their hand, and so a helping hands bulletin board. These are the new curriculum standards for civics. if you look at the underlined parts, mainly I'm adding a lot on talking about current events, media literacy, that with the onslaught of information and fake news, being able to look at that, fostering habits of open-mindedness, making students responsible citizens and good citizens. And then the civics project is supposed to focus on the last part, taking what you learn in the classroom and bringing it to life outside of the classroom, action in the community. So that's the part that I kind of ran with, the action with seniors. So the project has 3 parts. The first part is the partnership with the Woburn Senior Center. It's mainly service projects to help seniors feel valued, learning the story. Everybody has a story, so learning the story of a senior. And then part 2, a partnership with Woburn Historical Society. I actually met the ladies that run the society, and it was at Dr. Crowley's professional development, that one at the YMCA, and we hit it off and decided to do a project with the 8th graders. So in this part of the project, each student receives a name from first burial ground in Woburn, and they would research the story, his story, behind that person they're assigned. And in a field trip where the ladies at the Historical Society would guide the students and teach them the history of the graveyard, they would do an etching once they've learned and connected to the person. They'd go and actually find their gravestone. But unfortunately, this part of the project was in the spring of last year. It got canceled due to COVID, and I don't think we'll do it this year either. But it was the idea of the project. And then part 3, English classes in 8th grade also have a new unit of social justice, and the English teacher and I were planning on melding our projects together at the end of the year in the spring. So in English class, what's your story is the last part. Students would choose an issue, it would be a social justice issue like the environment or domestic violence that matters to them, give a speech informing the class about the issue. But then when they come to history class, the part of the project would be to propose an action plan to help the issue. And then finally, the last part of the project is take action. What's your story? New stuff out in the community. So that's just an overview at a glance of the project. For part 1 of the project, it went really well last year. We did safety-themed placemats, and the seniors use those every Wednesday for their breakfast lecture series. They came out really beautiful. Another highlight from last year is students making 225 holiday cards for the senior center. Students raised $240 for Friends Helping Seniors by selling hearts. Just looking back at these memories from last year, I hope we can, have these kinds of gatherings again. But good memories. Students made 225 Irish blessings for their bingo St. Patrick's Day celebration. So these are examples of the service projects. My favorite part of last year was the back to school senior luncheons. So for 4 Fridays, each Friday, period 1 may have taken the first Friday, and their class had seniors invited, and each student had a role at the luncheon. They could be a host, a server, an entertainer, a DJ, menu maker, gift bag maker, a baker. They supplied the dessert. They could be a support staff, like a grand friend, and sit with the seniors the entire time, cleanup crew. And this was by far, it went better than expected. I saw the best out of my students, the way they helped and tended to their every need and were really observant. Hey, that senior over there doesn't have anyone to talk to, and they would go over. I was so impressed with how kind they were. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that part this year. So this year, there's been so many changes to the project. I really had to adjust it due to COVID. And talking with the senior center director, I changed it based on the changing needs of seniors, that they're in isolation and in quarantine. So maybe a different way we could reach out is a pen pal program. So 50 seniors signed up, and 2 students were paired with 1 senior. So every student got a pen pal. We sent introduction letters and holiday letters so far. You can see an example of a letter on the right. And every time I get a letter in my mailbox, they're so beautifully written in cursive, and they want to share about their life with my students. They're so open, and their letters are lovely. But the only hiccup so far has been that many seniors are unable to write back because group activities are suspended at, for example, Sunrise and Brightview Senior Living, so they don't have someone to help them write back. But I just use it as a teaching opportunity to say to students, look, this is an act of kindness. You're doing it service learning, and you should expect nothing in return. The goal is reaching out to people in need. So we're still writing even if they don't get anything back. And it's been going really well. They look forward to getting their letters. The other thing that we've done this year, changing up the project, is the Senior Center said that one of the greatest things during COVID was during Thanksgiving, there were care packages with a turkey pot pie, and the mayor was involved in that, and that the care packages really meet a need that they have. So I said, well, we'll do that for the Senior Center this year. We made winter care packages. There was a collection drive at the Joyce for about 2 months, and we collected loads of items so that each bag was filled with hand sanitizer, lotion, chapstick, socks, tissues, hot chocolate, tea, soup, soap. Every bag had practical items. I wanted them to be bags that you would want yourself. And then we had the grab and go event, December 17th, I believe it was. And students volunteered to distribute the packages and go after school to the Senior Center. There was a drive-through, and they waved and put the bags through the car window. The feedback from seniors has been very positive. For example, I spoke with a senior for 2 hours. It went towards talking about her life story, but really she was just calling to say thank you for the package. And I was really proud of the students who came. So also at the professional development from Mr. Crowley, where we were able to connect with different groups in the community. I wish I could remember the name of your professional development.
Learning together?
Yes. And I also met the media center.
You must have been there.
And they do videos. They can make a little video package for something you're doing. And the video that this lady made just blew my socks off. It was just wonderful. So I will show this to you. This is definitely silver lining. made 75 winter care packages. Each package has hot chocolate, tea, some soup, chapstick, lotion, all the winter necessities. And we already have a line of many seniors waiting to get a care package. I'm so excited to bring them some joy. And yeah, I think this is going to be great for my students to learn service learning and just spread some holiday joy.
Happy holidays from the Joyce Middle School. I'm Kevin, and these are my friends Riley and Ava. We're here at the Senior Center, and we're giving out 75 bags to the seniors of Woburn. We are having such a great time. It's so nice to give back to the community, and it's just great. I love being here.
Yeah. Hi everyone, we're the Simmons family. This year the kids were awarded a 2020 Martin Richard Foundation Bridge Builder Grant. With that, they decided to do a service project and ran a toiletry drive in the month of November. It was a huge success. Woburn families and the whole community of their school, St. Agnes in Arlington, donated more than $1,000 and boxes of products, and we were able to put individual bags together for the Senior Center and for the Council of Social Concern and for Tanner Closet at the high school. And we're just super excited to be giving back in honor of Richard. Thanks, Woburn. Hi, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. We are so thrilled to have Mary Pederudo and our Joyce Middle School students here. And we also have the Simmons family and our own staff. And we all work together to give seniors some presents, some different things. We got some succulents from Highland, we got toiletries, tissues, candy, all the stuff that you need. So just moving that people this young age that are having a hard time themselves this year reached out to do something for our seniors. So we're strong. So it's a great day, and you can feel the Christmas spirit today. Better days are coming, and get a new year around the corner. Merry Christmas, everybody. So there's that. And if I had to summarize the project, I think the quote on the left does a good job of explaining. If you read that, the aim of education is not only to prepare students for productive careers, but to enable them to live lives of dignity and purpose, not only to generate new knowledge, but to channel that knowledge to humane ends, not merely to study government, but to help shape the citizenry that can promote the public good. So, to me, I think the most important thing is teaching them to be good human beings. And then on the right, I think civics is teaching students that you have a voice that matters and that you can make a difference. And the students who were at that grab and go event, I think they felt that they were making an impact, and it made them fulfilled, and they felt joy because they were giving joy to somebody else. And I hope that they learned that from the project. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere yet, Mary.
Okay.
There's a silent clap going on. But some committee members may have a couple questions or statements, and I'll do my best to either relay what they say, or maybe you'll hear them on your own.
Okay, so Mrs. Chisholm.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for your enthusiasm, and you give teachers a great name for doing this and engaging the kids. And I know the seniors just absolutely love it when they see young people involved and taking part and actually listening to them. So that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, good. We can hear each other. Awesome. Mr. Lipsitt.
So I wanted to say from one history teacher to another how wonderful this project is. This is exactly what I think people envisioned when looking at civics projects, and it's so evident from everything that you showed us how empowered your students are, what an impact this had on them, and I'm sure on the seniors that they were helping, and it's just wonderful to see everything from interdisciplinary learning to action to giving back to the community. It's a really, really well-designed program, and I know it helped a lot of people. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know that when these civic standards first came out, a lot of history teachers were, well, I can only speak for myself, but I was nervous, like it would be a first year of teaching all over again. You'd have to reinvent the wheel, but I think this shows that if you roll with the punches, sometimes the things you are forced to create end up being a good thing and you're glad had to do it. I think that incorporating the civic stuff this year has gone really well. Being able to talk about the Capitol riots and having students process that stuff, the election, it feels like students find it relatable, and they're making good connections. They're getting engaged with civics type stuff, and that's good.
Great. Any more commentary? Yes, Mr. Mulrennan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may, full disclosure, I was not in the line getting a grab bag at the senior center, so if anybody was wondering that.
Next year, Mike.
Next year, soon enough. But the reason I brought this particular item before us, I know Dr. Crowley at the last meeting talked about fatigue and the struggles of all the students and staff and families that are going on, but I just wanted to make sure that Ms. P was recognized for her efforts and what she's been doing here at the Joyce. I've also had the opportunity, to Mr. Lipsitt's point, to visit her classroom. It's very impressive what goes on in her classroom alone besides this project. So I think perhaps if someone else has other opportunities to present to the school board, I myself would love to see something like this. I want to thank Mary for her time. I want to thank her for putting all this together. She used terms like pivoting and thinking outside the box, and COVID did this and COVID did that. But it didn't stop her and her students to come out and really show our community what our students are all about in the city of Woburn. So I think we should be proud of her, her students, and the families behind it. So thanks for your time today, Mary. I look forward to the next one.
Thank you. Coming to Woburn, I will say, I always admired that Woburn does so many service stuff helping in the community. So it just seemed a natural direction to go in, because you see so many things like the Council for Concern, the high school doing the food pantry, that closet of clothing and canned goods and foods. So I have to thank Woburn also for making it possible, the people in Woburn, like the senior center and everybody who's involved.
Thank you. Ms. Petaruto, I'll speak on behalf of the school committee that we are absolutely impressed with this project and also your ability to create a partnership with the senior center. I'm wondering if the committee would allow me to write a letter to Director Lingblom, just thanking her for participation in the project and looking forward to other collaborative efforts. That's okay?
Make that motion, Madam Chair.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Kissel. That motion passes 7-0. But Ms. Petaruto, thank you so much. This was just truly uplifting, which I think was the purpose of Superintendent Crowley and also Mr. Mulrennan for bringing this to the committee's attention. So any final words from anyone? That's Dr. Crowley.
Yep. I just want to thank you for, it really is uplifting to see this and to see kids out in service of others and your leadership in that capacity. So appreciate it. I appreciate putting together the slideshow for tonight. I know it's not easy to do, and it really kind of contextualized the work you did. So thank you, and appreciate your work, and look forward to working together in the future.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right. Good night.
Move we return to the regular order of business?
Second.
I have a motion to return to the regular order with a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Kissel. We are now back to public comments. We are expecting Mayor Galvin here tonight.
He's tied up. Sorry.
That's perfectly fine. We will certainly be speaking with the mayor at a later meeting. Thank you to the mayor for all of the consideration for the school district, and I know that he's extremely busy. Is Michael Concannon on Google Meet by any chance?
He was on.
Oh,
But
Oh, he was.
Yeah, he didn't want to speak, but he's listening.
Oh, he was listening. Okay, so I will acknowledge that Mr. Concannon was listening in and saw some great presentations.
I'll put him back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, look at this.
Yeah.
Alderman Concannon, are you there? Sorry, Councilor Concannon, are you there?
I am,
I-
Chairman. Can you mute me?
Yes, I just wanted to acknowledge that you were here. Would you like to address the committee in any way?
Actually, I do not have a report this evening, and if I did, I would probably postpone it so I wouldn't have to follow Mrs. Petarudo's report.
Yeah, that's very wise.
But I'm simply in listening mode this evening. Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate you coming, and we will certainly wait to hear from you at a later date. Thank you very much. Moving on
Thank
to reports and presentation of superintendent and staff. As I mentioned before, Woburn Teachers Association President Barbara Locke is here to address the committee. Good evening, Ms. Locke. Hello.
Nice to see you all. I hope you are all well, you and yours,
How?
during this crazy time. I was, we're here to speak about a one-year agreement, and after that presentation, I might go for a 3%.
I was a little afraid of that, Ms. Locke. I was like, oh no.
He is
It's
special.
amazing. I work with these people day in, day out. I was here at the Choice for years, now in high school, and we've just got some great teachers, just through and through. And I'm just so proud to be part of them. So, but that aside, I did want to announce that today, the Woburn Teachers Association ratified a one-year contract overwhelmingly. We had a great turnout. Of course, now we vote electronically, so you don't have to go anywhere. You can go pick up your children and do the things you need to do in life. So it might be something that we continue to do. And I think a lot of things from COVID we're probably going to continue with, the little silver linings, if you will. But, so, we talked. I want to thank Ellen Crowley and Dr. Crowley, no relation. Tells us that
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Thank you for, I think this was record-breaking negotiation. It was one day, and I would like to also publicly thank Scott Galvin, Mayor Scott Galvin. One day, and we were able to come to an agreement where we felt our executive committee served as the negotiation team, and we felt that it was enough to bring to our members. And we understand the tough times that people are going through. We're blessed to have jobs that we love, and that we were able to stay on, and all staff members. And so with that, we felt comfortable with what was proposed, and of course the outcome was that 393 out of 421 voted to accept the proposal. So yay, now we can get back to, the reason was really to get back to running a school district, a city, and to us teachers to get back to work, because we've still got a lot going on, and we just kind of wanted to get this behind us, and then we hope to sit down next year for a 3-year, 3%. How's that sound? Just kidding. We didn't even do any language really, but again, I just want to thank Dr. Crowley and Helen and Scott Galvin and the whole school committee at the table, and my membership, our membership. They listened and they're understanding about the situation, the city of Woburn, and so any questions?
So that's the presentation from Ms. Locke. Does anyone have any questions for her specifically? Or in front of the school committee is the proposed agreement that was ratified by the WTA, and for the public's knowledge, we discussed this in executive session last meeting. So if we're ready, the school committee is ready to vote on that, we can do that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the contract.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion. Yep, of course, I have a motion to accept the contract as presented, which is on the table now. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Kissel seconded. Great. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Chisholm?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
In favor.
Mr. Lipset?
Yes.
Mr. Kissel?
Yes.
Mr. Mulrennan?
Favor?
Dr. Wells?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes, that passes 7-0. I'll be signing. The memorandum of agreement between the Woburn Teachers Association and the Woburn School Committee.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Negotiation team.
We'll clap. We'll clap.
Miss
You
Lo-
didn't have to negotiate like 45 days?
So I want to state that, Ms. Locke, I also want to thank your team. Mary Johnson, Eric Shupan, James Byington, those are the major players. Who else am I missing?
Yeah, James Byington is part of the joint labor.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So what we did is have this whole, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I would love to thank our executive officers, Mary Johnson, Linda McElhaney, Neil Cudmore, Eric Shupan.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we meet weekly with the teachers union, and what, it's been tremendous, eye-opening, and really powerful. So I want to thank you for that. Now, since I'll just reiterate some of the terms of the contract. The school committee and the Teachers Association agreed to a 1-year extension of the contract. The teachers will be receiving a 1% raise, a personal day to be used, an additional personal day to be used during the 21-22 school year, and no language changes have been made to the contract, and the school day shall start next year on September 7th, 2021. So those are the terms of this agreement, generally speaking, but this document is now public. Okay. Ms. Locke, thank you very much. Nice to see you. All right, moving on. Pandemic update. Dr. Crowley.
Sure. Before I do want to also just extend my gratitude to Barbara Locke, WTA, for their collaborative efforts on the contract, but also, the pandemic update. We're in this together, and we alluded to that earlier. We do meet weekly, a joint labor management group on Tuesday afternoons, and I don't think we'd be here if we didn't have the relationship that we have. And so I appreciate everyone's willingness to talk with each other and navigate through what nobody could have predicted a year ago. And so thank you. As it relates to COVID in the Woburn Public Schools, last Friday we tested 250 people approximately, staff. That continues, and there were no positives. So it's nice to report that there were 0 positives on our staff testing. We've negotiated, and deep appreciation to Mayor Galvin and his willingness to fund this testing. We've negotiated to extend the testing through February, with the exception of vacation week, the Friday of vacation week. The other item as it relates to testing is that the mayor has offered to have staff who, for whatever reason, miss the testing sign-up window on Fridays, they can walk into the senior center on Saturdays, even if they're not a Woburn resident. They just need to say that they're a Woburn staff member, show their ID, and they'll be tested. And so I think it really demonstrates a commitment to everybody that we're trying to be safe and take care of each other the Woburn way in the middle of a pandemic. Mary Heater is the nurse leader who reports daily, really to Bob directly, but then to me. We have a data dashboard that gets updated. The nurses, the school nurses, have been doing a phenomenal job, and actually so have the families. And so really, I want to say that publicly. We have a lot of students that, not a lot, but students do become positive because their parents are positive, and they've been communicating direct to schools. And it really has been a very good relationship between the families and the schools to keep us safe. And so appreciate the school nurses' role in that process, and also the families' role to keep all of our students and staff safe. The vaccine in the city of Woburn, our first responders have been vaccinated in the city. The school nurses have been vaccinated. The speech-language pathologists, the occupational therapists, and the physical therapists were given the go-ahead to get vaccinated this week because they're considered phase 1. As of right now, all educators are still in the phase 2 as it relates to vaccination. The supply coming into the city is what you think. It's not as robust as we'd like it to be, and I think you're reading that. That's the case everywhere. The hope is that soon the vaccine becomes more readily available, and the intent is to roll out a plan where staff are able to get vaccinated here in the school system rather than have to go through their primary care or go to CVS. We're just waiting to get more information as it relates to the number of vaccines and develop a plan with nurse leader Mary. So that's in the works. Mary Heater did do a training with her school nurses on the Abbott Finex rapid test today. So that test is going to be available in schools, I believe, almost within a week, presumably. What that will allow for is a rapid test to be done on-site in schools for anyone showing symptoms. And so that will, again, another prevention before care, to try to keep us safe and in this hybrid model. The citywide positivity rate declined this past week, and so that, again, is a positive trend. The citywide testing rate was 4.5%. That's lower than the citywide positivity rate, which was at 7-point-something%. That's because people get tested not just through their own primary care doctors and so forth. So, we're obviously very aware that things can change in a heartbeat, and we are monitoring everything as well as we can, I believe. Credit goes to our staff who are working under incredible conditions, to our administrators who are working under incredible conditions, but almost more important to our students who are doing amazing with these masks and the social distancing. And I think the kids that I've spoken to, and you heard it tonight, they're so grateful to be in school for when they are in school. And so I think it's just a tribute to our entire system. And so I'm happy to answer any questions people may have. I try to give a broad stroke overview of where we are.
Thank you, Dr. Crowley. Ms. Cormier?
Yes, just at the last meeting, Dr. Crowley, you had mentioned you were going to sort of introduce us to the data dashboard without any identifying information. Is that something we can still expect?
Yes, I apologize. I should screenshot it and hide identifying information, and I didn't do that for tonight.
Okay.
I will do that for the next meeting so you can see exactly what it is.
Excellent.
And for the committee's benefit, what I'll do is do that and share it with you before the next meeting, but publicly share it at the next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ms. Cormier? Dr. Wells?
So I just, so there's no plan yet as to the week after the February vacation in terms of whether you go remote again like you did with the
Yeah, nothing's been decided yet, Dr. Wells.
Yep.
You know, we're using the data to kind of inform us.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Any more questions to Dr. Crowley on the pandemic update? Not seeing any.
Well, the only thing
Oh, I'm
is,
sorry, Ms. Chisholm.
Is there, I know it's out there a little bit, and we can go back to school.
Yeah.
I know that's something that a lot of people are anxious, and it's been all over the news about trying to get kids back to school. Because there's a lot of kids out there that are hurting, that are not getting what they need to get, because they don't see their teacher on a regular basis. So I know that that's just conversation, but it's out there, and people are just anxious to see some sort of a plan, whether it's a plan that we just start to make so that we can adjust it, but there is that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, so I 150% agree that we are we're beginning to think about it. I'll share it actually momentarily as part of one of my goals, but I want people to know that we do want to get back to school, but it's a complex process. It's not, you cannot just flip a switch, but because what we've done to get to this point we've moved staff from one job to a virtual academy, from one building to another, and it's to undo that is going to require some thoughtfulness and. But that being said, I do think that everyone wants to get back there.
Thank you. Ms. Chisholm? Any more questions? No, seeing none? All right. Moving on to revised superintendent goals. If members remember, we looked at the initial draft of Dr. Crowley's goals, which we have to approve, and then I believe it was Dr. Wells asked for a revision, or maybe Mrs. Chisholm, I can't remember, forgive me for that. And so Dr. Crowley went back to present another work product.
So basically, in light of the feedback that I received as it related to the draft goals, the goal that there was a professional practice goal, and I'll go to it momentarily. The goal that I had suggested was that I would improve my technological skills the same way that in support of the teachers and administrators, and it's something that I will absolutely do. But to I understood the feedback. I have a tech department. I don't need to know exactly how to manipulate every single item, and so I appreciate the feedback and to that extent, I do want to commend our tech department. Jen Judkins has been unbelievable. I think it was about a year ago that she was before the board, just prior to COVID. I don't know if she laid out like a 3 to 5 year plan on a one-to-one. I mean, and here we are, 9 months later, with the one-to-one K to 12, and so it really has been an amazing addition to our team. So the goal again, this is the same as initially presented, so I'm going to go through it quickly. This is the professional practice goal, the revised professional practice goal. And so I'll read it for the folks that may or may not be able to see it. But in order to prepare the Woburn Public Schools for post-pandemic wellness, instruction, and operations, I will work collaboratively with the senior administrative team and through them, all the district faculty and staff to develop our safe return to school plan. And so essentially what I'm saying is the same way we planned to get into school with this three-pronged approach with these 3 different plans, I think we have to take that same approach and be deliberate in our return to school plan. Like I just it's not a case of just being able to flip a switch. And so for example, the operations and logistics, so I would, in this case, would work more specifically with Mr. Alcanada, because one of the things that I overlooked when someone asked about return to school is furniture. Like, Mr. Dunkley has to have time to put the classes back together, to peel all the tape off the floor. There's things that we've done to make it work that require us to to go backwards. And so we need to develop a plan specifically about furniture, for example. Transportation would be another example of the logistical things that we're going to need to think about. What does it look like as it relates to how many kids can be on a bus? We just got an email today from the commissioner reminding us that the bus windows still need to be open in the winter. And so what does that look like whenever this may transpire? And so we've had a conversation this morning with principals to kind of brainstorm through some of the hurdles that might happen. The two things that came up there are staff not being in the positions where they were, and also the spacing. So is it 3 feet or 6 feet, or back to, like what the pictures we just saw. And so those kinds of logistical things need to be thought through, not just at the district level, but with the teacher input and the implementation teams that we had when we went into the beginning of the school year. Student and staff wellness, really, this is, in my mind's eye, it's bigger than I can imagine. It's really the social emotional impact of COVID on students and also staff. I think that we need to be really, really mindful of how difficult this has been, even for those of us that have maintained employment and been able to not be sick. But we all have things that we're contending with outside of our work lives, and so do students. And so I think under this, Dr. Baldessari will become pivotal, because I also think it really, there's an equity component that's been exacerbated as a result of COVID, and making sure that we're mindful of that equity gap that's been created, not just, of course, in Woburn, but well beyond, but that we have a plan to meet the needs of students and staff as we come back in and beyond. I don't think, I think there's going to be a long-term effect as it relates to our social and emotional well-being. And then the heartbeat of the schools always has been and should be the curriculum instruction piece, and that's what we think about learning loss. But we won't know that until we're back. How do we assess what kids know or don't know as a result of whether they were in virtual academy or hybrid? How much did they log in? And so Ms. Sprague and her department will be vital in that sort of analysis and planning, in conjunction, of course, with building leadership, teachers, and all the folks that are involved in the teaching and learning day to day. So that's my proposed revised professional practice goal.
Just one of them. One of
Just-
them. Only one goal.
Yeah.
Of all the other ones.
So that's just one of my goals, right? So, which I think it should be pretty easy. No. No, it's so I wanted to to share the thinking with you, and hope that it meets your approval.
All right, great. Dr. Wells?
Yeah, no, I want to thank the superintendent. I think, it became more evident, probably when you were thinking about it, because this really is something that's going to happen. And I think this is much better than you learning how to manipulate all the technology.
Yeah.
I do think, though, we have to have somebody work with you on acronyms. That RTSP is like, that's not going to work. So, but I do appreciate this. I think this is very important, and this will get us going in the right direction. So, look forward to updates.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Any more questions on Dr. Crowley's revised goal? Yes, Ms. Mulrennan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not so much a revised goal. If you would, Dr. Crowley, just review for the public at home that maybe weren't paying attention last time. Just your district goal regarding COVID-19. Obviously, you spoke a little bit about returning to school, but I think, some of the steps that you've taken and about to take moving forward are worth, a little more attention this evening. So if you don't mind, a little bit of time on that.
This one?
That's the one.
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
obviously, you know, the year started and continues to be a COVID-19 reality. And so my goal is to provide effective leadership, support, and communication to everybody throughout the school year in the middle of a pandemic. And so I feel like people have probably heard more from me via email, text, than they ever have. And so I want to communicate in a timely manner everything that I possibly can to all stakeholders. At the core of any decision is the health and safety of our entire community. So we have had to, and as people know, we did close for the week after Christmas break or winter break. Our metrics were trending in the wrong direction prior. We made that decision, and we're able to get back into the hybrid model. And that will always, throughout the COVID era, the health and safety has to be the priority. Our facilities, I just described that they were taken apart to meet the needs of to get us here. In the room tonight, there's air purifiers that have just helped, and I really want to thank Mr. Dunkley. I think his team has done an amazing job. They've been working throughout the pandemic. They're coming in every day, and so I know that Ms. Locke was here. I think the WTA has been a partner with us as it relates to facilities. When the issues have arisen, we've resolved it. And so the complex one right now, and will continue to be, is the staffing. We've had many leaves that we had to face at the beginning of the year as a result of the FFCRA. Ms. O'Neill has really and Mr. Alcanada, as we've worked through many gyrations of staffing, and we'll continue to do so. People are working from home as possible, so that's been a challenge. Our budget, I want to publicly thank Mr. Alcanada, but also the city of Woburn, because we wouldn't be where we are without the support of the city of Woburn as it relates to our budget. The supervised learning centers that Dr. Baldessari put together are funded through the city of Woburn. And so we've been able to meet the needs of families in a way that we otherwise would not have been able to do had it not been for that support. I mentioned earlier the technology growth. We've had multiple, we have in-person meetings, we have Google Meet meetings, Zoom meetings, and I think we've had a lot of communication internally and externally, and I hope that people feel listened to, supported, and we're in it together. And so the goal really is to, as I said up front, is to provide leadership and support during a pandemic, and these are the tenets of what we've been doing. And here we are really at the halfway point, and we'll continue to keep monitoring these tenets.
Thank you, Dr. Crowley. I just wanted to re-emphasize what you're doing there, because every once in a while I do joke with Dr. Crowley about anything that comes up, he can just reference the superintendent handbook. And I still don't think he's found the chapter yet on what to do about a pandemic. So these are measures that, school districts across the country and across the world are probably dealing with. And I just want to applaud you for your efforts. And, unfortunately, it's a goal that has to be in there this time around. Maybe someday we'll sit here and a lot of these will be off the table, but I appreciate re-emphasizing some of these goals looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Wells.
Yeah, just I'll take the time. I do think the superintendent did find the superintendent handbook on communication, because I think that is the thing that's done what he's been able to do in Woburn. If he didn't have the communication skills, the ability to talk to all the stakeholders none of this would have happened. So I think that's the most important page on the handbook that he's found. It's amazing. We're talking about going back to school when I'm seeing stories about other communities that can't even get in the hybrid model. He was able to communicate with all the stakeholders, make everybody feel comfortable, make everybody feel like they were heard, got us through into the hybrid model when a lot of communities couldn't do that. And so, he didn't need to find the one on pandemics, but rather he had the one on communication. So.
Thank you.
I'll acknowledge that Barbara Locke is clapping in the background.
Yes.
Dr. Wells, thank you for
Thank
saying
you.
that.
Yep.
And any more commentary on Dr. Crowley's goals? And I'll just say it for Dr. Crowley, he wouldn't have been able to do it because he has a great team.
That's absolutely true.
That's what Dr. Crowley says.
That's what I
He
say.
would like to take credit for himself.
I don't do this alone, and these are my goals. But I have great people to help. So that's how it's done.
And as we move to a plan to maybe someday think about reopening, I know I speak on behalf of the school committee, is that we like to be involved, and we certainly love to come to those meetings and see kind of what dialogue is happening, and because it gives us, it gives us the information we need to really do the decision making here. And I know that you have full support.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent goals for
Second.
2021.
A motion to approve the superintendent's goals as proposed,
Second.
and I have a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Kissel. All right, those have been approved. And a great discussion therein. All right, subcommittee reports. Yay, we're already there. Finance Subcommittee, Mrs. Chisholm.
We'll be meeting on Monday. So
Fabulous.
next week.
Awesome. Curriculum Data Trends, Mr. Lipset.
We have not met.
Fabulous. There's a resolution going around. Some school committees have approved. Mrs. Chisholm sent me a correspondence about the privileging of art in sports. Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm like, he's going to know as soon as I say.
Absolutely aware of that.
So is that something you would like
That
to
is,
take
yeah,
up?
and I can speak with Ms. Sprague about scheduling a meeting at some point to discuss, and maybe a couple of other things to, I'm sure, check
course.
in on as well. So.
Yes. So thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
Chisholm, bring that to my attention.
Absolutely.
And awesome.
Kevin, curriculum, when we get a
course,
chance,
Dr.
could we
Wells.
I just glancing through the bullseye here, and I noticed they didn't have their mid-year exams this year. So maybe just have a little more discussion at curriculum about that and sort of the thinking behind that. So,
Great, Dr. Wells.
Yep.
Okay, so that does also refer as a topic to curriculum and data trends. Anything else for Mr. Lipset? Let's pile him up with an agenda. No? Okay. And Mr. Lipset also corresponded to me that he would like to be appointed to any hiring committee for the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. So I will appoint you to that, and you can work out with Dr. Crowley going forward. Okay?
Thank you.
Fantastic. Personnel Subcommittee, Mr. Mulrennan.
Yes, Personnel Subcommittee met. I believe Gene McLeod should have emailed each member the minutes of the meeting that was held on Thursday, January 21st, here at the Joyce at 9 a.m., and I'll quickly go through my notes of the meeting. Dr. Crowley, Dr. Baltasari, Bob Arnado, Judy O'Neill, Patty McKinnon, Patty Chisholm, Colleen Cormier, myself, and our guest, Ms. Crowley, our chairperson. First item on the agenda was our staff HR update. As usual, Judy O'Neill, as you know, was probably boring as ever, as Judy always is, but her manner was unbelievable. Again, Judy described it as stable, at the current status of the HR department was stable. Past reports, Judy was up and down. We had some issues, but she got the stable status because of lots of work by many people on her team. Factors included and not limited to getting to this status. The Child Care Act expired, as we all know, and some of the staff were returning back to our classrooms. So the COVID precautions were continued across the district, Judy reported out. And the teachers' leaves are all being reviewed as usual, with any leaves that are requested in all the different areas across the district. Doing well to keep up with our substitute situation. Obviously, it's always a matter, whether it's a daily basis or in-building subs, or even as we move forward to our budget hearings, the substitute line items. She also talked about a program that's going to be introduced to the staff called Staff Wellness. She'll bring some details ahead, probably coming up soon, just kind of, as Dr. Crowley talked previously, I see Ms. Locke still present, kind of like the fatigue of the staffing folks, just trying to, brighten up their day a little bit of something for the staff that Judy's going to be working on through HR, and details to follow on that. Good news, but she's not sure what's coming around the corner. Obviously, things are good right now with Judy in the office, and the HR matters were good, and you never know what's around the corner for Judy in the HR area, but overall, pretty good. Next item was from Bob Alcanada and Patty, and the person in the finance office, a new report. I do have a copy of what Bob was presented. Personnel action forms. Basically, it's just to increase efficiencies, and copies are available to anybody that wants it. Improve efficiencies and effectiveness around all different departments. Basically, a flow chart of what you do as an employee. It's kind of something that should have been around years ago. It's for HR, for payroll, for finance, and demographics of our staff. So you can check all the boxes for each staff member in the building or across the district. And the flow chart indicated whether it goes to Bob's department, HR for personnel matters, payroll for different finance matters, so people would get their information in the right place, handy to people that need it. They're also working on a new Google platform introduced to the office to, again, improve overall efficiencies in the office. And Bob, I didn't write it down, but the report was, I call it the craft report.
Oh yes, we talked a little bit about the report that was done by the Mass Association of School Business Officials about a year ago or so.
Okay.
John Crafton was the lead person that came here. During that meeting, we identified some areas in that report that came up that we have been trying to improve and work on efficiencies.
Okay, I had craft in my head for some reason, but and again, Bob, you can go over the percentage of what they found these findings were, but minor findings after the review was held by that committee, that group. And if any matters do come up, the finance subcommittee will add them to their agenda at a later time to go over any issues with Bob's findings in that report. He's going to update the committee on all initiatives put into place for his efforts to upgrade and overhaul the business office procedures when needed. And just like Dr. Crowley, he praised all the members of his team for all their efforts with these findings. Item number 3, and we just kind of took care of one of those items, was the replacement of Ms. Sprague. So Dr. Crowley indicated to us that HR was going to be accepting the paperwork and applicants till, I got January 29th. That's all right to you guys? I think that's what I wrote down. So postings are out. HR, there's also different ways to apply. Indeed, online, school search. So Judy indicated that's one way of getting the things in. And possible candidate come to the school committee if all goes well. Dr. Crowley indicated maybe mid-March, allowing again some overlap and shadowing for Ms. Sprague's position that's so complex within the district. And Ms. Cormier asked about the COVID vaccine status, and we kind of heard a little bit about that tonight. If and when movement had a plan, and we're waiting on a plan, so we'll get a plan when the plan gets here. And no votes were taken, and the meeting adjourned 10:30 a.m. Any questions, comments?
Yes, Dr. Wells.
So I think there was follow-up in that subcommittee about the report that we didn't finance, and I didn't know whether we want to deal with that now, or do you want to have it go back to finance and then come out at the next meeting?
I think at this juncture, Dr. Wells, it's best to stay in finance.
Okay, so we'll bring it out after our finance meeting. Okay. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what issue. Which issue?
The issue when they were reviewing records, the data sheets.
Oh, the data sheets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
we do
the
have to
finance
resolve
issue.
that issue.
Of course.
So, okay.
And because it's finance,
Okay.
kind of didn't want to dump on you guys, but finance can handle that as well.
Yep.
We can handle it.
I'm sure.
Thank you, Mrs. Chisholm, for handling that. That is a finance issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we did not set up a new date, but we will again shortly, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mulrennan. Any more questions for personnel? Seeing none. Mr. Kissel, would you like to read out on policy?
Yes, we did not meet, but I don't know, a week and a half ago or so, myself and Dr. B had talked about a policy he's working on. I just reached out to him earlier to see if he could just touch on that briefly, and then we'll set up a time.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to
Are you
say a few
asking Dr. Baldessari to speak to that now?
To talk about,
Okay.
real fast about what we'll be talking about at the next policy meeting.
Dr. Baldessari, are you able to give us a policy?
We have a draft policy
Okay.
that we're working on for equitable communication and translation and interpretation for our families who are non-English speakers. It's in draft form right now. A draft will be presented at the policy subcommittee. The second component is in our policy manual that's been adopted through MASC. We have a number of policies in the manual that don't have adoption dates, which leads me to believe that they were simply carried over from the MASC recommended policies to our policies. And in the time frame that has taken place, many of the policies by MASC have been changed and there's new recommended policies. So we're going to begin the process of looking at those policies that have no adoption date, comparing them to the policies at MASC to make sure that we are most up to date on those, and we're going to, on a monthly basis, tackle 2 or 3 of those policies each month. That was the intention before COVID, and now, we're still in COVID, but we want to get as much back to the work that we were doing before as possible.
Thank you for taking that on. And I'm looking at these 3 that know that we often have to do that.
Yeah.
So thank you for reconciling our policy manual. Mr. Kissel, anything else on policy?
That's it, but I feel a little better. We will have a policy subcommittee meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kissel.
Stay away.
Madam
Appreciate
Chair,
it.
I have a question
Yes, of course,
about
Ms.
policy.
Cormier.
So I was looking, after watching some webinars from DESE on physical and health education, at the wellness, the policy for a wellness program and a wellness committee in Woburn. And at the end of the policy, it says that program coordinators of the wellness program are supposed to report to the school committee annually. So I was wondering if that's something that we should think about. I know obviously COVID happened, but I haven't seen that in the last couple of years. So I was curious if that's something we could set up.
Mr. Kissel, are you willing to review or Dr. Baldessari, willing to review our wellness policy to see what's required and what the school committee had voted on and what
I thought he was our wellness representative.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
It's good to look into it. Thank you, Ms. Cormier.
This is the policy from a little while back.
Yes.
2006.
I think it was on the original committee, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
One of the originals.
Great.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Thank you, Mr. Kissel.
No problem.
Anything else for Mr. Kissel? Okay, seeing none. Resources and Capital Planning Subcommittee, Dr. Wells?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the administration to let me know when they'd like to discuss the old Wyman school situation. And we'll schedule a meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Student Service and Achievement, Ms. Cormier?
We will be meeting on February 4th.
Okay, thank you. Future agenda items.
Madam Chair, the superintendent mentioned going back to school, but it's never too early to start thinking about graduation and, how we can carry that out this year, what the plan is, I don't know. Whether we should start thinking about it and, just to get prepared.
So I spoke to Ms. Callahan actually the other day. She's got a calendar, draft calendar of senior events.
Okay.
And with both like virtual and in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to plan graduation when we don't know where we'll be, but that's one, like the prom, is another example of things. So
when the administration feels time, just give us an update on where we're at.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. For future agenda items, I am going to invite Mara Embler, our Recreation Commission representative. She sent me an email, which I'll just note in correspondence. I don't want to steal her thunder to do the presentation. I'll invite her. I believe she was able to come in person. If not, we'll arrange for her to present remotely on what's happening at the rec. I have a feeling there's some good things. Anything else for, yes, Mrs. Chisholm and then Ms. Dolan.
Any update on the London furniture? There was some talk on the movie page.
Yeah, so I believe today was the pickup day, and by Mr. Dunkley, I forget, 75
75, yeah.
desks were picked up by
good.
families today.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and so he said people were very grateful, so thank you.
My God, thank you for updating us. I didn't realize it was going to be that much. Wow.
And that was out of, what, 85?
There was, no, there was
100.
approximately 125.
That's good, because there were people on the page looking for, desks for kids at home and stuff, so people mentioned that was going to happen. It's good, good.
Mr. Mulrennan?
Just under the, I guess we're going to start calling it the silver linings for Woburn Public Schools, Madam Chair. Perhaps the Kennedy Backpack Program, maybe a representative of Tana Closet, or even any one of the best buddies either here at the Joyce or at the Memorial High School representation. Just, again, all these good things that are going on. And Dr. Crowley talks about kindness all the time. I think we can demonstrate that in many different ways.
Thank you, Ms. Mulrennan. That's a great idea. Yes. Anything else for future agenda items? You can just email me if you have any other recommendations. Correspondence. Well, like I said, we did receive an email from Mara Emler summarizing some of the actions taken by the Recreation Commission. I think I'm going to have her present this in public, at the meeting, so we can all kind of hear it, and I'll forward you her email so you can see what she says. But it's basically just the looking at the facilities, looking at new programming, looking at more inclusive programming, that all of the things that we asked her to do for us. Correspondence. I didn't receive any of note. Yes, I want to thank Rachel Kuberry for offering information about our last meeting. We did have a time where we were not live streaming, and so I wanted to thank her for feedback regarding the open meeting law. And I reminded her that our meetings are open, and we will certainly endeavor to provide live streaming through the entire meeting. So I want to thank her for sending me that correspondence. We do not have executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
And motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion?
Bam.
All in favor? Ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned.